Welcome to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
400 is the magic number, and they got it done today for the first time in basically 2.5 years since Matt Canada has taken over. He's no longer here, and no longer is that streak of 53 games if you want to go all the way back, but 45 games, Matt Canada, no 400-yard offenses. Not that he was the entire problem, but obviously a refreshed start today as the Steelers come away with a win, 16-10, not a lot of points, but they got the win, and they looked a lot better on offense. Welcome to our post-game coverage of a Steelers win to get them in a 7-4. Bob Pompeani, joined by Hoke Bro 76, Chris Hoke. So they did what they had to do, 8 of 17 on third down. That's how you move the game quickly, and that's why we're on a little earlier than normal, because they converted. They had longer drives, and they used the middle of the field, and they used the tight end. Last week, 1 target for Pat Freiermuth. I don't know how many he had this week. He had 9 catches, probably 12 or 13 targets.
Yeah, there's no question. He was 9 catches for 120 yards. And really, you look at it from the very start, the first snap, they went down the seam to Pat Freiermuth. That was the emphasis in this game. No matter what, they were going to go over the middle, and they were going to go to Pat Freiermuth early and often. And really, like you said, Bob, this offense looked like it moved much smoother throughout this game. They stalled on drives in that first half, only getting 3 points. But the second half, scoring really on every single drive except for the last one.
And Kenny Pickett looked very good, too, especially down the field over the middle when he had time to make the precise throws, which we saw a lot of in the preseason. We haven't seen all that many, but he trusted the situation even if receivers were covered, and he had a pretty good day at the office as well. If you look at the final numbers, 24-33 for 278, and he didn't make any mistakes, and now he has the longest interception-less streak in Steelers history at 208 in a row without throwing a pick, which is important. But at the same time, it seemed to be holding him back on making some of the throws down the field and everything else. We have a lot coming up. We're going to take your phone calls a little later in this program. We're also going to hear from the players, and Mike Tomlin live. We'll have all of that, plus Hoke Bro's analysis of this win and what it does for the Steelers now moving forward, because the schedule seems to open up in their favor. Cincinnati, this was a really difficult loss for them. All 6 losses now are in conference. Their season likely is over, even though there's still a lot of football left. They're going to have to overcome a lot of obstacles. We'll talk about all this and more as we continue. This is your Extra Point Show, following a Steelers 16-10 win today to get to 7-4 since he falls to 5-6. We're back with live interviews next right here on KDKA+.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back as we continue taking a live look right now at Paycor Stadium. And this is the Mike Tomlin press conference room. We're waiting for the head coach to come out, make his post-game comments. As soon as he does, we will get there. Rich Walsh is in Cincinnati for us. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke here in the studio as we continue. And, you know, the biggest difference, again, was Pickett was willing to throw down the field. They went to the middle of the field. All the checks downs we saw went instead to 88. They weren't just going sideways and behind the line of scrimmage.
That's what I noticed right away, right? Freiermuth, instead of checking the ball down sideways, it was down the field 4 or 5 yards, but still getting the ball to Freiermuth rather than getting it to Warren and Najee. Less touches by them in the passing game, which I thought was a very positive. But to me, it looked like Kenny was much more relaxed, much more confident. You know, something that stood out to me, what Charles Davis said in the game, Pomp, was that the team came together. See, Matt Canada had everybody split it up, and they were in their positions most of the day. They came together in a meeting as a team, an offensive unit, and discussed the game plan, discussed checks, discussed different offensive personnels. That helped them be on the same page as a unit, and I believe that helped Kenny have more confidence when he stepped into that huddle in the game today.
And one of the things about this game, they still only managed 1 offensive touchdown, and even that was a little questionable because of what was, I thought, a holding call that they got away with. But they moved it a lot more, and certainly this team, Cincinnati, has given up a ton of yards, so you would have expected the Steelers to move the ball, which they did, but 1 offensive touchdown needs to increase. Let's take a look at the scoring summary as we wait for head coach Mike Tomlin. And not much offense, like I said. The only Cincinnati score came on a touchdown to Drew Sample. This was after a deflected pass that went in and out of the hands of the Steelers linebacker and right into the hands of Jamar Chase, and he made a nice return on it. Next thing you know, they get a sample touchdown from Browning, and that was it. They led 7-3 after Boswell had the Steelers on the board first, and Najee Harris with the only touch. That was a nice drive, though. 14 plays, a lot of third down conversions, and then another field goal by Boswell. A big run at the end by Mixon on a screen pass, set up a McPherson touchdown, but then that was it. 16-10, your final score. So You know, again, one offensive touchdown, Chris, that has to get better. No touchdowns in the air, even though Kenny Pickett looked good. I want to see more shots into the end zone. The one time we did see a shot in the end zone, Deontay Johnson seemed to have it, then lost it. Gene Steratore thought it would have counted on a review if they had done it, but the call on the field was a big one. It was incomplete. He would have made it a moot point just by hanging on the football, and he should have.
He should have, absolutely. That's what professional receivers do. Hold on to that ball, and it came out. And Deontay thought it was a catch, but for some reason the Steelers didn't challenge it. I don't know if any other team would have challenged that, because right there people know that you have to finish the catch. But to Gene's point, he got 3 feet down. After that third foot down, it doesn't matter. The ball can come out once it hits the ground, because that third foot gives you that trump card, if you will. So right now you're looking at it, and that right there, I want to go back to, Bob, the scoring summary, because that third quarter drive, when the Steelers went 79 yards on 14 plays, was a backbreaker for the Cincinnati Bengals. And what happened was they were moving the ball down the field. That was the best drive of the day for the Bengals, methodically going down the field, and then the interception was thrown. And Browning threw that interception, and the Steelers went down the field and ran the ball. They threw the ball, and they broke the Bengals back. From that point on, they were not the same as a team.
Yeah, and Trenton Thompson came up with a pick. He should have had one last week in Cleveland. We'll talk more about that in a second, but we know that Mike Tomlin is headed to the podium, so we're going to go there. And Thompson made the turnover. They resulted in points. It was a big turn of events.
But they hung together and they fought. I thought field positioning was a component of the first half. I thought we gave up a kickoff return to midfield. We had 2 touchbacks on punt circumstances when we had a chance to put them on a long field. We had some penalties in the punt return game. So the field positioning component probably made it a little bit more uncomfortable than it should have been. Thought maybe Deontay scored on that one, but then we fumbled a few plays later. We got to take care of the football. Lost points there, so I don't know that the score was kind of reflective of how we were operating, but that's football. That's how things go. We did what we needed to do to win the game, and I'm appreciative of the efforts. From an injury standpoint, I think George just got the wind knocked out of him. Talking about Pickens, Calvin maybe hurt his ankle there late, but I don't know the extent of that. We'll see where those roads lead us. But AFC North football, man, road venue. I'm just appreciative of the win today and the efforts that produced it. Questions?
Mike, what did you like about the flow and direction of the offense because you were moving?
I thought we spread the ball around. I thought we, changed up things schematically and did different things, launch points. I thought we attacked down the field there early when there were split safeties, and we weren't going to let them sit in that comfortably all day. We did what we needed to do.
Mike, were you planning on coming in using Freiermuth as much as you did?
Again, sometimes coverage dictates that, but obviously Freiermuth's first week back was last week. He was out an extended period of time. It's probably more of a reflection of him getting back on things and Kenny getting back on things with him.
When he is on like that, what a difference it makes for you?
He's significant, certainly.
What can you say about the job these coaches did under these circumstances, offensive coaches?
I'm not worried about under these circumstances. That's our job, and they did it.
Why not challenge the Deontay play?
Because they were definitive, and I lost vision of it. It was people between me and him. I couldn't count steps. They never gave us another look at it in stadium. We didn't get a quick enough look at it up top. Sometimes that happens when you're on the road, but some games being on the road, some games being at home, all those things even out in the big scheme of things.
Mike, how key was it to that final run? How key was it to shut down Mixon?
That's what we aspire to do. Obviously, when you're playing when the opponent is playing with a young quarterback, man, really puts an emphasis on the run game. I thought that's 2 weeks in a row where we, did a nice job versus the run when people were probably really committed to it. And so I'm appreciative of that.
Mike, you talk about weighty downs. The 2 drives, I think you had 5 third down conversions on them. That leads to more plays for you. You had to like what you saw there.
No doubt. I thought there was a lull there, maybe second quarter, man, when they were winning some possession downs. They were lighting us up pretty good with pressure structure. And but once we adjusted, it got a little bit more fluid in the second half.
Mike Najee had several hard runs. Can you speak to the impact he had?
He's our down in and down out kind of ball toter, man. He doesn't often get a lot of credit because of the nature in which he plays and the style in which we play. But that attrition component is significant, and I think we're always appreciative of his efforts.
Trent, Mike, what did you like to see out of Kenny today?
You know, we did what we needed to do to win. Guys like myself and Kenny, man, we're judged based on winning and losing, and we don't run from that. We run to that. So he and I are winners today.
Mike, what did you see from Trent Thompson? He had big interceptions. What's he done since?
You know, one man's misfortune is another man's opportunity, and efforts like Trent's make that real, and so we're really appreciative of it. I just think that that's what team is about, particularly over the course of a journey that is a season. There's going to be opportunities for people to ascend and to change the perceptions of who they are professionally, and this guy's been really excited about this opportunity. We're excited for him. And he delivered.
Mike, the interception, and you turn around and go down and score. I mean, kind of flips the game on key. How big was that?
The sequencing like that, man, playing complementary football is really important, no doubt. I think that's why I was upset about the field positioning component of special teams in the first half, man. We had a punt return to midfield, and we got a penalty, and we probably lost 20-plus yards on that penalty, and we had a couple touchbacks that we had a chance to down inside the 5 or 10-yard line. That field positioning component, you know, in special teams there in the first half really kind of minimized that complementary component that we're just discussing.
Mike, you talked on Tuesday about a lack of fluidity on offense. September, like plays, you feel like you saw a step forward more?
I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush and act like Eureka. You know, we did what we needed to do to win today, and we'll keep pushing.
Coach, are you happy, though, with what you saw out of your offense today?
I'm happy that we won, and so we're just going to keep pushing.
Didn't look like there were any obvious hiccups in terms of like the process between Eddie and Mike and the communication of the offense.
We didn't anticipate any.
Anyone else? All right, we got TJ and Kenny.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin after the game. Winning is the nature of the game, and they've won. Scoring points is the nature of offense, and they did score, not as much as I think people would have liked given the amount of yards they had. He mentioned something about that replay situation. I want to get into that real quick. Before we do that, TJ Watt has been brought into the podium, so I'll interrupt myself, go there, and come back in just a second.
Big win, divisional win.
Right now.
To be able to bounce back after a loss just shows some resiliency in this group. We could have made a whole bunch of excuses this week. Really proud of us for sticking together and get back on track. Feels good.
You've been in a bunch of games this year where you guys were significantly outgained as a team and winning. Kind of looked like for a long time you were on the other side of that. What do you feel like was the key to kind of just hanging in there and letting the game figure it out by the end?
Rest. I mean, I think we took 21, 22 snaps in the first quarter or in the first half as a defense, and that's huge. Offense was controlling time of possession. Defense, we were able to get off the field. Obviously didn't like that early drive that ended in a score, but being able to smash the run helps a lot, trying to get them one-dimensional. Spent a lot of time on the bench today, and that was awesome as a defense. Yes.
DJ, how key was it to be able to contain and shut down Mixon when you guys did?
Huge. That was a point of emphasis. We understand how dominant of a back he can be, especially in the run game and the screen game. And the one at the end, we need to contain. But other than that, I feel like we did a good job on him for the most part today. And that's not just the guys up front, that's the guys in the back end willing and able to come up and make some hits as well.
The sequence, the interception, and then you guys go down and score, that kind of flips the whole game.
Trent's been balling. He really has. No one's surprised by his success. He had a phenomenal preseason. A guy that's come in, he's not doing a whole lot of talking. He's trying to learn as much as possible, and he's performing. And credit to him.
With a young quarterback in there, obviously you're looking to disrupt him and make him as uncomfortable as possible. How do you feel about your job in getting that?
Obviously, we're never satisfied, but we're happy for the most part. Defense back end did a good job of making him hold on to the ball a few times, and that is what allowed us to be able to get after him up front. Probably see a couple plays on film that we wish we could have back, but overall felt like coming into this game we knew the playbook was still going to be pretty open because he was a smart quarterback and felt confident in the things that he could do, so it allowed for us to be able to get after him a little bit more than a traditional young quarterback. I guess so. The old guy, I guess, gets what he wants.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. We'll have Kenny up shortly.
All right, that's TJ Watt. Yeah, the old guy. He's talking about 97. I thought it was a half sack for each. Instead, they went and they gave it to Cam Hayward. Good for Cam.
You got to give it to the old captain.
TJ was looking for. He ends up with 2, and that puts him ahead of Myles Garrett, who's playing right now in Denver. But temporarily, he has that lead at 13.5 sacks, one of the quickest ever to get to 90 in his career. And you'll see his day. 2 sacks, a couple of quarterback hits. It could have been more. I mean, honestly, the way when you play against backup quarterbacks, especially one who has never started a game, he's been here for a while, I mean, it's not an easy assignment. And I think that's part of this as well. If we're going to look at this objectively, if Joe Burrow had been in this game, it would have been a whole different game. But that's to expect that. The Steelers did a good job knowing what they're up against. They stopped their run game. Most importantly, they did that last week in Cleveland, which I thought was a big component to their win last week when the Browns really couldn't muster much, and today was even better. 11 carries for only 25 yards. That's for the entire game for the Cleveland Browns. So if you stop them, most likely you're going to stop a young quarterback as well.
Especially right now, right, with the young quarterback, with Jake Browning, when all you have now is the running game. So the Steelers sold out in the running game, saying, Jake Browning, go ahead and beat us. They knew he could. And like you said, if Joe Burrow was a quarterback today, this absolutely would have been a different game. But they'll take it, right? And this is what it's going to be like the rest of the season, Bob. Right now, the Steelers are sitting at 7-3. They got 7 games left.
7-4.
7-4, excuse me. And the next 6 games, they're going to face backups until the last 2 games of the year. So this is going to be a precursor to what we're going to see for the next 4 weeks. And they got to take advantage of it. They've got to win these games when they play against backup quarterbacks.
No question about it. And, this game turned on a Trenton Thompson interception. If Cincinnati, they were in field goal range, if they had gotten minimum 3 points there, who knows how this would have gone, because the Steelers immediately used that momentum off that interception. By the way, that was a bad pass by Browning, I thought, because Jamar Chase was open. He has to hit that quicker. He didn't. He allowed Thompson to come all the way over. It was Joey Porter Jr. was drifting back, expecting him to go more in a deeper route. And Thompson made a really good play, and he almost had an interception last week we saw in Cleveland. So that was a turning point of this game. It would not have been had the Steelers not turned it into a 14-play, 79-yard touchdown drive, but that's exactly what they got, and that's how it went.
Exactly. It would have been a 2-play game right there, right? 2 scores, and they would have been behind. They go down and break their backs, and it really was just a well-called, a well-executed drive. 14 plays, 79 yards, run and pass, mixing it up, converting on 3rd downs like we talked about. That was the kind of drive that you want to see from the Steelers moving forward in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth, not just in the third for a 1-touchdown drive. If they get that, Bob, they're going to be tough to beat down the stretch.
All right, as far as the Steeler defense is concerned, Landon Roberts had 15 tackles last week. He didn't have that many, but he was very significant nonetheless. Let's hear what he had to say in the locker room after the game.
It's a huge game. Nice to get back on the winning track.
Yeah.
Feeling after tonight.
Yeah, real good, man, because you put in work all week. You know, like I talked about last week to you guys, man. You know, November football, you gotta learn from it, but you gotta make quick adjustments. And today, I think we was able to do that. We played complementary football, offense, defense, and special teams and stuff like that. And we still got some stuff to come away from in this game to still get better at, but it's always good to get a victory.
You guys held their stars to not much out there, not much production from those guys.
Like I said, man, we came in with a game plan from our coaches. We was able to execute them. You talking about from a defense standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, and stuff like that. We just kept playing, man. We played a 60-minute game.
And also a team game in all 3 phases, too.
Exactly, most definitely. Most definitely.
What does a win like this do for the team morale?
I think, it's November football. You know, when you start stacking them in November, it's big, you know, and stuff like that. And obviously, it's a divisional game. That's a great team out there and stuff like that. And we went at it head-to-head, 60-minute game. And, hey, we was able to come away with a win like we, you know, dig in each week in practice to come away with, and we was able to come away with our goal.
Yeah, that's Landon Roberts. And, I remember in the preseason, Mike Tomlin, we talked about their situation as they really revamped the entire inside linebacking core there. He really liked Landon Roberts, who was available, just a workman-like, and that's the word he used, a workman-like guy. And you see that sort of week in and week out, especially now with all these injuries.
I really like Landon Roberts. Remember earlier in the year, Cole Holcomb, Quan Alexander, Landon Roberts, they really struggled against the 49ers, but each week they've gotten better. Now that Landon Roberts has been given that green dot, and he's the play caller on that defense, getting everybody coordinated. He led the team in tackles today, and just as a guy, he seems like he plays with a lot of energy, inspires the players around him, Bob. This is what I like about Landon Roberts, proven to be a big-time pickup in the offseason.
Yeah, Michael Walker there, you see him. He was the guy who deflected the pass, could have had an interception, turned out to be a big play for Cincinnati when Chase chased it down. But he was good, too, for a guy who was sitting around not doing much on the practice squad. They brought him up, but he has a history also of 100 tackles in one season with the Atlanta Falcons.
What stands out to me, TJ Watt, I mean, those tackles, not only at the line of scrimmage in the run game, Bob, you saw today at 2 or 3 tackles in coverage, running with receivers, running with tight ends, and making tackles after the catch. That's really impressive for a guy that can rush the passer, can play at the line of scrimmage, and also can run with receivers and tight ends and not let him get extra yardage after the catch.
No question, he was back in coverage a couple of times today, made open field tackles as well. We have plenty more coming up here. Thank you for joining us on KDKA+. You're going to hear from Kenny Pickett coming up. You're going to hear from Joey Porter Jr. coming up. And you're also going to be an opportunity to call us with your thoughts a little later in this couple of hours of post-game coverage we have for you. Steelers win on the road 16-10 to get to 7-4. Texans lost today, so they jump ahead of them in the wild card, so they move up one slot. The Browns are playing in Denver. We'll give you all those updates and more as we continue live right here on KDKA+.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. Let's take you live to Paycor Stadium. Kenny Pickett, today's winning quarterback, at the microphone.
I think those guys did a great job preparing us this week. I think we did a great job of coming together and staying together in a time of adversity, coming on the road, and getting a really big-time AFC North win that we needed. So, it feels good.
It seemed like Pat was there all game right from the beginning. Was that something you knew was going to be a thing, or was it just reacting with Cincinnati?
Yeah, kind of just, playing off of what they were showing defensively. Felt like they, were showing a lot of middle field open, coverages where we need Pat to, step up and be big for us, which he was. Had him in some one-on-one routes, too, to move the chains. I think Pat, had an unbelievable game. Really happy for him. Battling back off an injury, a hamstring, which isn't easy. So it's great to have 88 out there.
Did the way the game was called feel different to you?
It's definitely different. It's a new play caller, so it's, you kind of get used to the flow of how he likes to call things, and that's something that we're going to continue to kind of iron out. But felt like every drive we were, having productive drives, moving the ball really well. Some penalty things and a turnover that we wish, you want to take out, that would help us put more points up. But overall, happy with how those guys played.
Kenny, what can you say? Mike Tomlin talks about the weighty downs, the ability for the most part for you guys to come away with first downs and just move the ball.
Yeah, I think we did. That was kind of something we talked about at halftime. I don't think we were great at it in the first half. I thought we really stepped up in the second half. Coach Sully was seeing it really well and what they were calling. Putting in some really good positions to be successful. And then we went out there and executed. So that's kind of how it's got to go and how it has to be, moving forward.
Kenny, did you need this as a good taste in your mouth after maybe struggling a couple of weeks to go out there and really put together a good performance on your end?
Yeah, my end and our end. Like I always say, it's the ultimate team game, especially offensively. You need everybody, all 11 working together, all 11 on the same page in order to be successful. So, for myself, for the guys in the locker room, we're all really happy that we're coming out of here with the W. Coming back to Hines this weekend, which, coming up, which would be awesome to get back home. A lot of positives to take from it.
Did you think you had a touchdown to Johnson?
I thought, I was running down there to go celebrate. And then they didn't obviously, on the road, you don't get to see a replay. They didn't get a job of that. So I'm going to see it on tape and see what happened.
This is one of the weirder weeks of your pro career, Kenny. Just the frustration in Cleveland, big change Tuesday, and bouncing back on what you guys did today.
I'd say so. I mean, it's a lot of adversity, a lot of things going on, moving parts. But like I said, it felt like a short week almost because, when we got the news and how quickly we all had to kind of react to what happened and flush it and move on and get ready to go this week. So. Hats off to our guys in our locker room that did that.
You talked Wednesday, you can only do so much, can only make so many changes. How did the offense feel different to you today when you were running?
Kind of flow of calls, like how Coach Sully likes to call games, and our communication on the sideline is great, which he's been there with, my right-hand man since I got here. So the communication's always been great with Coach Sully, and it's just now that he has to call the plays, obviously it's just an adjustment, but felt like we handled it really well.
Do you think the change impacted the way you played or anybody on your side?
It's like I always preach, it's the team. I think it impacted our team and the flow of the game. Like I said, just a play caller and instincts and where they go is different. Each guy's different. Each guy sees it and feels it differently. So having those conversations with Sully on the sideline and knowing our plan of attack every drive and how we're going to adjust to what they're showing was good.
Was there any kind of emotional response to it or a tangible?
In terms of the play caller?
Reacting to the change, and did that affect the way you guys played?
I mean, listen, you can give rah-rah speeches and get blown out. I mean, there's nothing anyone's going to say or do. You got to go out there and play and execute and put the plan together, which is what we did.
Kenny, it's been frustrating at times for Najee this year. Speak of the impact he had.
He was awesome today. He was running downhill. Being able to watch from kind of a bird's eye view from behind and see how he was hitting the holes, man. He was hitting the holes hard, and it was great to have Najee and Jay, doing their thing like they usually do. So, huge positive. Really happy for 22, and our offense as a whole. Putting up the yards that we put up today, just got to get the points.
Is there a sense of relief that the offense had a good day, and you got to continue to do it, but just knowing that all the trouble you had this week, at least you can go into next week with Pollard?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're relieved. I would say, we always knew what we always know what we're capable of doing. It's just putting it together, and we still haven't 100% really put it together there. We were driving really good. Felt like we left points out there, but you got to take the positives and continue just to march forward, which is what we plan on doing. So yeah, there's a lot of positive. I wouldn't say relieved is the word though.
What does the 3 tight ends thing do for you?
I think all those guys do different things really well. I don't think it's not obvious, just an obvious run structure. I think with Connor and Pat and Darnell and being able to get those guys out in some route concepts, and they do a great job. They run great routes, and I think each guy had an impact today.
Can you guys hit all the talking points on the first play, the play action, between the numbers to the tight end? Was that by design, and how much did that help you just getting that play to be successful?
That's Coach Sully's preparation and tendencies and what he saw and what we plan to attack. It was great execution by everybody, great pro. Pat did a great job of seeing it. Put the ball on him. It was a good start for us. But nothing to what anyone was saying. More of what the defense showed us, preparation-wise.
Was he different at all today?
Who?
Sullivan.
He's calling the game. I mean, no, but he's steady. He's steady. He's always been steady. He preaches that as quarterbacks. You have to be steady. It's such an up and down game, an up and down league. A lot goes on during the week, but he was steady as always. So it was great to have him, calling the plays and always by my side, but now in a different kind of aspect.
You had a couple in terms of just air yards, a couple of your longer passes, one to Deontay, the corner to George. Was that something you felt was a focus, or was it just kind of the way things played out?
It's the way things played out. You get that one high press, you're going to take those shots. If they're playing too high, you're not going to take those shots. You're going to work Pat over the middle. So it's all about the defense dictating where I throw the football and how I kind of go through my reads.
Anyone else?
Kenny, you said it wasn't relief. So what would be the word that you would use to sort of describe just the chaos of the week and the elation of this victory?
I can't give you one word. We all know what we're capable of is the best way to put it. We know we're capable of putting that kind of offense out there every week. We just weren't able to do it in these previous weeks, but it feels good to come together like that and put out a great game. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Kenny Pickett after a big day offensively. Big day considering what the Steelers have done in the past. 278 yards passing, very efficient. Jake Browning had some bigger plays. One was a fortuitous bounce into the hands of Jamar Chase, but bottom line is Kenny Pickett did not turn the ball over, and that's a key. And the whole game changed when that one interception of Browning took place. So I look at this and I see some big plays down the field. A little later, hopefully we'll get a check at the pass chart of where he was throwing the ball quite a bit, Chris, but he had a big, right off the bat, 24 yards to Freiermuth, another one, 21 to Freiermuth, and then he had 39 to Deontay Johnson. He had 43 to George Pickens. Those are things we have not seen, and Field Yates of ESPN just put this out, which is stunning to me, that this is the first time the Steelers have put up these kinds of numbers since 2018.
Week 16 of 2018.
Week 16 of 2018. So when you think about offenses, and this is an offense-first league, how 5 years of not having 400-plus yards?
There's no question about it. And now you look at this right now. Is this the Bengals because of the 30th ranked defense in the NFL?
Partly.
Or is this the upstart Pittsburgh Steelers offense? I'm hoping it's the latter. I'm hoping it's Kenny Pickett driving the ball down the field. They're running the football like this, like they've been the last now 4 weeks in a row. But we'll see. But there's not a lot of challenges up in front. And we would have said, Bob, a week or two ago that the Steelers playing against any of these teams over the next month were not gimme games. But to me, if the offense plays like this and they can continue on drives, converting on third down, and get stops defensively, they could have some success over the next 5-6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and you can take a look at what they did in the fourth quarter. When they get a lead, they can lean heavily on Najee Harris, who did have that one amazing run where he carried people with him for like an extra 10 yards.
That was unbelievable.
And Najee, as well as Jaylen Warren. So let's take a look at the JP Roofing final stats of this game, Chris. And you can dissect it here, but there's some numbers that jump out at you, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's third down right there, right? And then you can control the time of possession. Like TJ Watt talked about, staying on the sideline, being able to rest defensively, but 8 for 17, 47% on third down. That's the way to win games. You know, the last 2 weeks, the Steelers were 21% last week. 2 weeks ago, they were 30%. That was the reason why they struggled to win games. Here, 8 for 17 is a recipe for success.
All right, one of the guys who had a huge day, and last week only one target, and Mike Tomlin, pretty much explained that was maybe by virtue of the fact he was coming back for his first game. Well, not today. He was a workhorse. He had 9 receptions, 11 targets, 120 yards, made things happen in the middle of the field. Rich Walsh was among those in the locker room interviewing number 88.
Back here in the middle of the field, and like I said, the coverages that Cincy was throwing at us, it dictated that a lot.
Did you have an idea that you were going to be this busy?
Not to this extent, but I for sure thought going into the game, if they gave us too high, like they've been doing a lot in the past, that I could have a big game for sure.
How tough has the season been on you before today?
It's been tough, man. Obviously battling through some injuries. Never really was healthy since week 1, taking that hit into the chest. But handled some adversity, and got to keep stacking on this one for sure. Confidence, man. Connecting on that first play on an explosive, it made everyone help believe. You can see us kind of together today, and it was a great win for us. I guess you could say. I think we just kind of obviously handled adversity this week as a unit, and a lot of eyes were on us. So we just kind of try to lock in practice, do the extra stuff throughout the week, and try to execute. Yeah, we're definitely in a rhythm. Moving the ball up and down the field. I think we had over 400 yards or something like that. So it was a big day for the offense for sure.
It's the first time since 2020 you guys have had over 400 yards in a game. Obviously, you win with points, but does that do anything for you guys? Is that a sense of relief to finally have that kind of crossed off your list?
Yeah, I don't even think we had it on the list, to be honest. Obviously we knew that we had to move the ball more. As an offense, you want to, set up field position for the defense, obviously ending points and stuff. So, obviously it was a big day for us. It felt nice moving the ball at will, and we're just going to continue to move from here and build on it.
All right, let's take a look at Pat Fryermuth's day of work. 9 receptions, 11 targets, 120. That's big. He had some really nice down-the-field receptions in the middle of this game. Also a nice little, one of those guys who can get himself open on short yardage situations, so you don't always have to go sideways, it seemed. And but I want to also say this. You can talk about Fryermuth, but the other guy over there, Darnell Washington, had a big reception, and he also had some really nice blocks. They utilize him in a very good way, although I'd like to see more catches this week.
I love that they're building momentum in the running game. They're starting to move the line of scrimmage. They're starting to get better blocking by Fryermuth and Washington on the edges in the run game, which is really going to help and make it easier for Warren and Najee to get up to that second level quickly. But you're talking about Washington in the pass game. He got that ball about the 9 yards past the line of scrimmage. He bulldozed over 2 or 3 DBs. Those guys wanted nothing to do with him, Bob. 270-pound lineman that's running the ball. It's unbelievable that he can go out there and run the way he does.
And Fryermuth was rolling over people too when he got the ball. It's a nice combination, and to utilize those guys because they can be difference makers. But the run game is very healthy right now. And again, you looked at what the Steelers' run defense did. It's a big part of this game as well. Not only do they run for 156 as a team, they only allowed 25 yards on the ground to a team that normally they rely on that, even with Joe Burrow in there, and they didn't do it today. So they were minus Burrow, which you knew that the Steelers are going to make a point to try to stop Joe Mixon, and they did, and that put all the pressure on Jake Browning. And say what you want, it's pretty amazing when you look at these quarterbacks who come into the NFL after prolific college careers, and he's one of them. When he was at Washington, throwing the ball all over the place, I realize it's a different game. You don't have as many star players at all positions. But, man, some of these quarterbacks it takes a long time, if ever, to get it.
It really does take a while. And I thought Jake Browning played well considering the circumstance. First start against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense with this pass rush, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith coming off the edge. I thought he played decent. But the reality is this defense controlled this game, and the offense, the best we've seen them control the game, I believe, from start to finish from the time that Kenny Pickett has started as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
All right, Najee Harris had a very good big game. Last week it was angry run for Jaylen Warren. I bet you Najee Harris is going to get the angry run from Good Morning Football. This guy was running all over the place. He had 100 yards, and then he took a loss at the end, which put him back to 99. But, boy, he was really good. And again, the physicality of his running just makes it tough. When that defense was on the field for as many plays as they were wearing down too. And this is a team that defensively gives up a lot of yards, but most of those come in the air. This was a run game that really took the air out of Cincinnati's defense.
Yeah, really, the worst rushing defense in the NFL, giving up 5 yards a carry coming into this game, and the Steelers took advantage of it, and that's what good teams do. They go after the weaknesses of their opponent, and today they did. They averaged 4.6 yards a carry. Najee Harris, now that's not Jalen Warren. Najee Harris ran for 6.6 yards a carry today. That's been Jalen Warren in the past. He got after it. Jalen Warren only had 3.8 average today. So Najee Harris running angry, running mean. I love that run, Bob, when it's about 20 yards. When he got in that scrum and he kept pushing, Broderick Jones kept pushing, he came out of there. That 20-yard run was big and a message sent by Najee Harris.
All right, I want to get back to something we started the show with. We didn't have time to get into it. That was the sequence that led to the first Cincinnati opportunity offensively, and that was a touchdown that was dropped by Deontay Johnson, although Gene Steratore says that they would have won the challenge. Mike Tomlin, this is what I want to get to with you. Mike Tomlin said that he didn't have enough evidence. He was on the field, someone blocked him, but aren't they supposed to have someone in the press box watching these? All you had to do is take a glance at it to know that he had the ball. You don't have to survive the ground anymore. That's back in the day. You know, we saw what happened there in the New England game back when it was the big tight end for the Steelers who scored, and they called it an incomplete pass, and clearly he had it. That was different. What did you think of that call, and also the fact that the Steelers didn't challenge it?
Well, I wonder if a lot of coaches would have challenged that if they would have known. That's one of those obscure rules that I don't know if it's talked about very much. I don't know if you knew it, but I didn't know it. But the reality is that that third foot came down. Once that goes down, doesn't matter what happens to the ball when it hits the ground. Coach Tomlin's got to have a guy up in the box, and hopefully he does. Hopefully he's not going off his gut. Remember, there's been a lot of talk about that, Bob, over the last few years, that Mike Tomlin does a lot of this off-gut feeling. He challenges things and hasn't had a lot of success. So I'm hoping that he has a guy up in the box that can review that and tell him what to do there. To me, it sounds like he did not in this game.
Following that, though, it was the very next play that Jalen Warren fumbled and Deontay Johnson stood around. Yeah. That's one thing. You don't hear a whistle, man. You got to keep on playing until you do hear a whistle. And it wasn't it could have gone longer if not for Connor Hayward, who was on the field, and he knew that the guy was still possibly with a live ball, went after and made a tackle. Otherwise, that could have gone way deeper into Pittsburgh territory.
Bob, it started the snap. I mean, Deontay Johnson didn't even come off the ball and try to block that DB. He just kind of walked off the ball. It was a very lazy play. And then when the ball was bouncing, he just sat there and looked at it. And then when the DB picked it up, Turner picked it up and started running back, he sat there and looked at him. There was no reaction from him, looked uninterested. That's something that Mike Tomlin's got to look at. I mean, to me, that's an issue in my mind, because when you cross that white line, it's all in. It's all focus. It's nasty attitude. And to me, I did not see that on that play from Deontay Johnson.
We'll take a break on that note. Steelers win today 16-10 to up their record to 7-4 in what is becoming a very, very competitive yet doable AFC picture right now. The Steelers jump the Houston Texans, even though they lost to them earlier in a wild card chase. We'll talk about that, some other games going on, and more live interviews from Cincinnati after a 16-10 Steelers win. We're back in a flash on KDKA+.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. We continue following a Steelers win today, and these are the standings for the Ravens. 8-3, 3-2 in the division. You see the Browns now, they are playing right now, but they trailed Denver 7-0 at Mile High. Steelers still with a very good division record. The Bengals now are in big, big trouble. Not only are they 0-4 in their division, but 6 losses, all of them in conference. They're basically done, I think, Chris, when you think about it. What are they going to do to overcome all this, knowing that Burrow's out for the year?
Oh, there's no question they're out of it. 5-6, they don't have an offense now. Joe Mixon can't carry this team because teams are just going to stack the box. So at 0-4 in the division, you can scratch them off the list of winning this division.
All right, now let's take a look at the playoff picture. And again, it will change at the end of the late results here. But Jacksonville, Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City. Now, Kansas City is trailing the Raiders at this point, and they're struggling to score points themselves. Cleveland, then it's Pittsburgh, and they jump ahead of Houston, which finds itself out of the playoff hunt after they lost to Jacksonville today. Indianapolis, on the other hand, still on the Steelers' schedule with Gardner Minshew as their quarterback. They're at 6-5. So, I mean, all these teams are vulnerable. All these teams have issues. The Steelers, though, have the second easiest schedule of those left in the AFC. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, Joey Porter Jr., he wanted Jamar Chase. I'll say this about him, man. He may be grabby, but he sticks to all of his guys. He wants the best, and he gets the best, and he normally does the best job on the best. Let's hear what he had to say after the game today.
Pretty much shut number one down out there. How was that?
It was fun. We was talking throughout the game. It was a good little matchup. Like I told him on the field, we're going to see each other again. Like, this is a rivalry that's going to continue throughout the year, so I'm excited for that.
How important was this win for you guys and for the state of this team right now?
I mean, we needed that. We needed to get that bad taste out of our mouth last week, and we came in today with that mindset, and we did good. We performed.
It also was all phases came together today for you guys. It was a complete team kind of win.
Yeah, that's what we was on this whole week, just play a complete game, offense, defense, and special teams, and we did that today.
Do you like the guys when they chatter back to you?
Oh, yeah, that's what I look for, That's entertaining to me. That's what gets me going. It's football at the end of the day, so, I'm a competitive guy, so.
And when you look at it, most of his yards were on those tips.
Yeah, I told him, how do you catch those? Like, he's catching tip passes that I don't even think wide receivers would go for, so it was cool, though. It was a good little matchup.
Where do you guys go from here? How do you feel about where this team is right now?
Man, we just got to keep stacking water. I mean, we got to keep stacking days. And, what we said, chop wood, carry water up at Penn State. So that's what we got to keep doing and look forward to next week.
Stack water, stack whatever you want to stack, keep stacking. Is the one thing he's stacking is good performances, Chris. He had a PI today, which, again, guys are going to be called. He is someone who gets his hands involved. But overall, I know you broke it down. What did he do today specifically to Jamar Chase?
Well, he shadowed Jamar Chase 85% of the time, 85.7 time, and he was on press coverage on 10 routes. 10 of the 28 times that he shadowed him, press coverage. The 2 times that Jamar Chase was targeted, he had 2 catches, but that means the other times the ball did not go to him. That could be largely because of the coverage that JJ had on Joey Porter. I want to call him JJ. Joey Porter Jr. had on him today. And I just think, listen, he had a pass interference. He's going to get those because of the way he plays. When he plays man, he likes to play handsy. He'll give up 1 PI in a game to be able to be handsy for the other 27 passes. I would give that up any day of the week.
No, I would too, and I think if that's how it's going to be, then be it. I love press coverage. If you have the skill to stay with a guy like that, do it, because those guys normally get frustrated. Let's talk about the defense overall, because, again, they stuffed the run. That was the first thing. If Cincinnati had more success there, maybe things would have opened up down the field. They didn't, and as a result, they pretty much took care of down the field as well, even though the Steelers are missing some serviceable and some pretty good players on defense, starting with Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Absolutely, and what I love is they won the line of scrimmage, and that's where the Steelers have to continue to do the job, is at the line of scrimmage. Keanu Benton, he's playing tough in the middle at that nose tackle position, and then you got Cam Hayward back. I mean, those are two, the growth and progression of Keanu Benton, and then having Cam Hayward back. It's tough to run the ball down the middle, and with the emergence of Landon Roberts, you're seeing this team really come together in the last month or 2 of the season.
And it's nice, finally, they got a chance to sit a lot and watch the offense do their thing, and as a result, the offense was on the field a whole bunch today, 37 minutes of possession time. Kenny Pickett threw the ball, and let's take a look at his pass charts, because we've been talking about lack of the middle. Still not all that many there, Chris, as you break it down.
Yeah, really a lot of throws, short of 10 yards. But you can see there he went deep. He connected on both of his deepest throws, on the right and the left, down beyond 20 yards. And what I like is the middle of the field, Bob. Remember when we looked at this together a couple weeks ago, there were no throws in the middle between the hashes. Now you got 2 at the 20-yard mark, and that's big time. That's something we have not seen. And you saw it was like the first play of the game. He threw down the seam to Freiermuth, and then again late in the second quarter. I mean, that's where you can really expose a defense and open them up if you can attack them right at the core.
Yeah, and they did. And Freiermuth's the guy to do that. And I also think Washington can do that here and there, maybe not as deep a route. But when you open that up, then all of a sudden the sideline throws become more available, and you often see one-on-one coverage, which is what you got with Pickens and Johnson. And he threw perfect passes to get it in. So kudos to Kenny Pickett on that. All right, another guy who contributed, I thought a big play, was Connor Hayward. You didn't see him much, but that tackle after the fumble by Jalen Warren was big. He was back there. He never stopped on the play. He made a difference in that regard. Let's hear from him after the game.
The offense went out there, played well. Started with up front with the O-line, Kenny and the running backs. And then I feel like the tight ends, we all did a good job going out there and blocking and, playing and making the most of our opportunities when the ball did come our way.
How important was this game for you guys to get a win, considering where you are right now in the standings?
Yeah, the AFC North is the best football in the NFL. Week in and week out, you got to bring your A game, like Coach T says. And, it's starting to get down to the backstretch, so you got to play your best football in November and December, and your best players got to bring everybody else along.
Feel good about this team right now?
Yes, sir, I do. I feel like it's just, one step to the direction we want to go.
All right, so another guy who lines up a tight end and moves him around, 2 targets, 2 completions, 11 yards. They're spreading the ball around. That's another thing I like to see. When you're a quarterback operating at top efficiency, I think Kenny Pickett was today, you throw to whomever is open. You're going to miss some guys along the way, sure, but at the same time, you're getting everyone involved, and I think that's another good component of this game.
There's no question. And listen, you can't give the ball 9 and for 120 to Pat Freiermuth and then get the ball 9 times to Deontay and 9 times to George Pickett. Some of those guys just aren't going to get the targets in a game. I mean, Freiermuth today had 11 targets, Bob, and Deontay Johnson had 8, and George Pickens at 5. But when the ball went deep to George Pickens, he brought that in perfectly. You have to be ready to make your play when your number's called, and these guys did this today. And if you would have just challenged that touchdown catch that Deontay Johnson fumbled, that would have been one more catch from him, and it would have been a different ball game from the start.
And it all starts with offensive line movement. You can't get the car to full throttle unless you have the guys in front, the jumper cables doing their job, and they did today. Mason Cole represents that offensive line. He spoke after the game.
We were going to have a wholesale change of the offense, right? You just can't do that. But hats off to Soley and Falk, man. Just super happy and proud of them. They deserve a lot of credit, man. Just it was good to see this team and this offense come together and on the road and kind of crappy weather and just come out here with the W.
Mason, did that change do anything intangible to you guys? Was it a kick in the butt? Was it a chance to start over, reset? Anything changed with the approach?
I think we just kind of all looked at each other and knew that when some of this happens, we got to play for each other, right? It's we all had a hand in Matt's firing, right? We didn't play well enough for him to keep his job, and we felt like we had to make it right now for the guys that are still here.
So you'd say today was better execution as opposed to a different approach?
Without looking at it, it certainly seemed like it.
Yeah.
I mean, like again, we moved the ball up and down the field. Again, penalties killed us. We had a turnover in the red zone, so still stuff to clean up, but it certainly felt better today.
Obviously, you guys win by scoring more points, but how good does it feel as an offense to get over 400 yards and outgain the other team?
Yeah, really good. I mean, we'll take a win however we can get them. Sure, we like to score more points, but most importantly, we try to win. And we did enough today to win. And our defense played great, as usual. It was good to possess the ball, move up and down the field, and I just had a better feeling today.
Yeah, they should have a better feeling. They dominated the line of scrimmage, and these guys are the beneficiaries of that. Jaylen Warren averaged 3.8. That's way down for him normally, but still running hard. Najee Harris was the guy who made the difference today in the run game with 99 yards. Again, he went over 100, but then had a loss at the very end where they're kind of just making this game go away and trying to take time off the clock. But when you get 153 yards rushing as a team, that's pretty good work.
Yeah, when I look at this, right, my gut feeling during the game, Bob, was I want to go back and watch this film because I believe Jaylen Warren was getting the Najee Harris treatment. What I mean is when Jaylen was in the game, we're going to stop the run. We're putting guys at the line of scrimmage. We're going to be dogs, and we're not going to let you run. And you can see the numbers were impacted by that. Those are more Najee Harris numbers, Jaylen Warren, and the Najee Harris numbers are more of what we see from Jaylen. So we're going to see, once you have that target on your back, people are going to come after you. People are going to game plan for you. So, yes, Jaylen Warren's been playing well. Let's see what he has with the extra emphasis on stopping him.
Yeah, well, when you have two of them, and they're both kind of dual starters right now, that's a nice situation to have. One picks up the other. You can, take a look at one, but the other one may get those kind of big numbers. So that's interesting. All right, so the Steelers now come home, and they have 2 games in a very short amount of time. They have Arizona next week. They have, after that, New England on a Thursday night. Both of these teams should be 2-9 or whatever. Arizona has 2 wins. They're currently winning right now, but that may change. Kyler Murray is back. So they're going to face Kyler Murray, and then it could be Mac Jones. Or after that could be Bailey Zappi. And then after that, who knows what you got, because some of these quarterbacks with the Colts, it's Gardner Minshew at this point. You're going to see Jake Browning again. I mean, when you look at this based on who's going to be playing against them, as we take a look at the Ford road ahead, to me, I look at potentially 4 wins. I know it probably won't happen because the NFL is unpredictable and there are injuries and things that occur, but at home, I would think they have to win both of those games.
You would have to expect, if you're looking at this and who they're playing, is that they're going to win the next 4 games. But Bob, as we've learned, it's the teams that we expect to win and we lose 2, right? Last week against the Browns. And so the Cardinals with Kyler Murray back, what could happen when they come here? You never know. They're really, it's dangerous when a team's down bad. 2-9. And so that's what we're looking at for the next 2 weeks. The Colts, Gardner Minshew to me is like Fitzmagic, right? I think that guy, he can come out and play hot and really put some points on you. We're playing in the Dome there in Indianapolis. So that's a game that kind of, for me, makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah, he's a turnover machine also at times. He hasn't done that. He won a game today as they creep into the wild card spot at 6 wins and 5 losses, but that's a road game, and you never know how those are going to go. But those 2 home games, I think, if the Steelers have a shot at winning a division, I think that's still the best option, obviously. And Baltimore has the advantage right now, but that last game of the year is going to be a Baltimore game, and it probably will be a night game if it carries this kind of importance. It may determine who wins this division.
There's no question about it. And to me, right now, we looked at earlier the standings in the AFC. To me, the Baltimore Ravens are the best team right now in the AFC. They're physical. Lamar Jackson, OBJ coming out last week and really playing well against the Cincinnati Bengals last Sunday. And the deep ball's back. This is a team that I'm really anxious about as we go down the next 2 months because they play physical. Identity of the Ravens has always been that way. We're going to see what happens here down the last 2 months.
One game we didn't talk about was the preceding game to Baltimore. That would be a trip to Seattle, which is never easy, although the Seahawks have struggled right now offensively. Geno Smith had a little bit of an injury, but he was terrific last year, got a new contract as a result. What makes that trip to Seattle a difficult trip? You played it. Yeah. You've been there.
It's just tough. It's just going up in the Northwest, right? And it's being out there. It's very loud. You're far away from home. The flight. There's so many different variables, and it's just really the reality is it's a difficult place to play. It's like kind of like me when it was going to M&T Bank. It's always difficult to play in Baltimore. And so those last 2 games are going to be very difficult for the Steelers. Tough places to play. Another tough place to play, Kansas City Chiefs. And so these are places that are really loud. The fans, it's like coming to Acrisure Stadium. They really put the pressure on the opponent.
I thought you had bank issues when you said when I go to M&T Bank, I have problems.
Is it still called M&T Bank where the Ravens play?
I think it does.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, I'm going to nitpick something here, but I'm just curious about your thoughts on this one because I wrote it down and I thought it'd be a good conversation piece. Right before halftime now, this is still a game. The Steelers had a 3rd and 17. Okay. And listen, they're in a good position if they pick up a first down or come closer, more, get another field goal. They chose to make a draw play. Now, when they work, they work. This, I didn't expect to see a draw. I thought they'd throw the ball because they had success throwing the ball. Did you
Where were they on the field? Remind me again.
That was right before halftime.
Right before halftime.
They're at the 47-yard line.
Yeah, I think in that situation, if you're calling a draw, you just don't want to make a mistake and give the ball back to your opponent, right?
But you're potentially one pass away from the field goal.
But I think at that position they felt like, hey, we're okay where we're at. We feel comfortable where we're at right now. Whether you agree with it or not, that's kind of a call that you would make to say, hey, we're okay punting the ball and playing field position and not taking a chance to turn the ball over and give the team momentum with a little bit of time on the clock.
All right, the other play I wanted to, because I circled it and knew you'd like to talk about it, was Darnell Washington. They threw a flag, and then they said no holding. This is the only touchdown the Steelers scored today. Najee Harris gets in. Did you think it was a holding call?
Listen, there's holding on every play. Honestly, Joey Porter Jr. holds on every play. Offensive linemen hold on every play. Alex Highsmith gets held on every play. But this one was out in the open. This one was blatant in the open field. The referee threw the flag. I'm not sure how they pulled that flag up and did not call that. He was bear hugging him. Maybe he had his right hand in here and the left hand. I mean, that was an absolute hold. And maybe because he wasn't falling down or he wasn't putting his hands in the air. But I cannot believe that they got away with that. That shouldn't have been 7. That should have been called back 10 more yards and moving and making it tougher for the Steelers to score.
So you think they should have embellished it a little bit?
Well, that's what I tell you to do, right? If you're getting held as a lineman or a linebacker,
throw your arms in the air. And
you got to try to get off. You got to throw your arms. You got to turn sideways to make it obvious. If you just stand there and you're not fighting to get off, well, 57, he was trying to get off, but he wasn't making it like a big dramatic thing. They want to see that you're being held. There was one called the next drive, I think, against the Bengals where T.J. Watt was falling down and he was way open and he had his arm out. He sold it. It's kind of like in the NBA, the flopping that's going on.
A lot of flopping.
You've got to flop.
You have to know how to flop, by the way.
Right.
You can't just do it if you haven't practiced it. Me, I flop all the time, absolutely. I do it on the golf course when I need help and strokes. We're going to take a break. Soon we'll be opening up the phone lines at 412-575-2600. That's a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. It comes up shortly. We'll be back to continue this program. 16-10 Steelers win to get to 7 wins, 4 losses. Coming home for back-to-back home games. Next Sunday, Arizona. Then next Thursday, it's New England.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, we're back with more here. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. Let's go around the league, and we'll start with the Colts winners against Tampa. 27-20, that final scored the Jags and the Texans, and that's a big win for Jacksonville. They were dominated at home by San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, Chris, but they rebounded here, and they got a win they, I think, very much needed.
Yeah, number one seed in the AFC right now, Bob, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that knocks the Texans, as you said today, down to that 8th spot in the standings. You know, we're going to be talking about this a lot now that we're coming down to the last stretch of the season.
The Giants have stunk, but New England stinks more. How about the Patriots are now 2-9? That's Tommy DeVito, baby. TD, that's his initials. TD got another touchdown pass.
Who loses to the New York Giants? Obviously the New England Patriots.
10-7. I would like to know what the over and under in that point thing was for that game. And the Falcons, they beat the Saints today 24-15. There are some games going on right now of interest, of course. And the Cleveland Browns are trailing Denver, although looks like they're getting closer to scoring in that game. But that's going to be a big game because they are right now ahead of the Steelers in the standings. Very interesting. As far as Deontay Johnson is concerned, he started his day with a pass that went backwards, and then he had a touchdown, which you thought was a touchdown. Probably was a touchdown, but they didn't challenge it. It led to a fumble by Jaylen Warren, and then Deontay Johnson standing around watching it instead of pursuing the ball. He spoke after the game, and this is what he had to say.
It is what it is. I mean, I had 3 feet down, but I just got to hold on to the ball all the way down to the ground.
Yeah, did you like the feel and flow and direction of the offense today? What was different?
Like you said, the flow of the game, with everything, the calls was just coming in. Everybody was on their job today. Just seeing the energy was different. We was just moving the ball, playing as one, and we was able to get the job done today.
What was done differently schematically? Anything, or just the execution of it? What?
Just execution and everything. There's nothing different about the play call is still the same. It's just us executing the play and making the offensive staff look good. That's all it is.
What happened after the Jalen's fumble? Did you not see the ball?
Say it again?
What happened after Jalen's fumble? Did you not
Nah,
see the ball?
I didn't see it. I was just doing what I do out there, trying to block or whatever it is.
Did you feel like they were taking more shots down the field and across the middle than maybe other games?
To us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure, because we getting certain coverages that they was giving us, and, we're just taking advantage of it.
There was a report out there, something happened after that. Can you talk about it, or what exactly happened?
It really ain't nothing, because, the media going to make something. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? It ain't. Like I said, y'all the outside from looking in, yeah, players, that's my brother at the end of the day, so players, we going to be players at the end of the day. We passionate about the game. Everybody want to win, so y'all can't look at it as, we had an all-out brawl or whatever. It ain't that. So don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? It's foot player. Everybody do it on each and every team. Talk junk to each other. So we squashed it. We won the game today. That's all that matters.
All right, that's one of the things we were talking about with Deontay Johnson. We'll get to that in a second. But you see, targeted 8 times, 4 receptions, 50 yards. He had the long one down the sidelines. Made a beautiful catch on a 39-yarder from Kenny Pickett, and said that he thought it was a touchdown. Had 3 feet down, and the review, if they would have challenged, probably would have won. But that was the report that came out. Rich asked him about that, and it was a report from the NFL reporters that he got into some sort of confrontation with Minka Fitzpatrick last week. If anything, it seems like Deontay's not having a lot of fun with this, and they're, with a win today, you'd think you'd want to do that. Your take on just his locker room presence and things that are going on?
Well, it just can't become a distraction, right? If you start losing at any point in this season, you have to keep an eye on what's going on with Deontay Johnson. As long as you win, everything's going to be okay. But when you start to argue with, yell at the coaches and chirping at the coaches, and then Minka Fitzpatrick gets involved, and then it goes so far, as reports have said, then that Cam Hayward and TJ Watt get involved, that's gone too far, and that becomes a distraction. And the reality is this, is that you've got to be a team player. This is a team sport, and I understand that receivers want the ball, and I understand that things haven't been going well until this week offensively. But you've got to keep things together, keep the culture in that locker room. And I'll tell you this, Bob. The one thing about Mike Tomlin is he's able to keep things together despite all the distractions, everything that's going on. Think about Antonio Brown. When Antonio Brown was here, you didn't hear about a lot of the things that were going on while he was here until he left, right? Because Mike did a great job of managing that, and that's what I think is one of his strengths, is his ability to manage guys that anywhere else, they would be a big-time distraction for that team.
Yeah, but it's something that you do have to watch, and something that needs not to happen, quite frankly, when you have coaches involved, when you have Watt and Hayward coming in, breaking things up.
Sure.
I mean, it can get nasty at times, and that's the one thing that they don't need at this point. They're a team that should come together after what happened last week. They made a shakeup, and they won a game, and now you have 2 home games. Regardless of how you get them, you got to get wins, and that's the bottom line here. One guy who always factors in wins is T.J. Watt. He had 2 more sacks today. Let's take a look at Highsmith and Watt together today, and also Watt now with 13.5 sacks. When he's on, man, there were a couple of sacks today he got where he went around not one but 2 guys and immediately shot. And if you're Jake Browning, the one play that I could not understand, he got away and then Nick Herbig actually buried him. And he should have just thrown the ball away. He didn't do that. But break down these 2 guys.
Well, listen, I guys talked about earlier. I mean, T.J. Watt had 2 or 3 sacks in coverage, tackles, excuse me. He had 2 sacks today. I believe that 1 sack was a coverage sack. Jake Brown was holding on to the football. And the second one, it was a miscommunication between the tight end and the tackle. If you remember, the tight end should have shot out. The tackle thought that the tight end was absolutely going to do that. Nobody came off on TJ, and by the time the tackle tried to get off on him, it was too late. He got a sack there. Those were his 2 sacks in this game. And you look at the one Cam Hayward had, and you look at the sack that Nick Herbig had. Again, Jake Browning holding on to the ball too long. He's got to get rid of that football. The reason why the Browns had success last week against the Steelers is because Dorian Thompson-Robinson was getting rid of the ball in, 2.15 seconds? Just getting rid of the ball. Today, 4 sacks because he was holding the ball on way too long.
And this is the thing, when you have a young quarterback like that who is young, he's 27, a guy who's been around but never started, you have that anticipation. Yeah. You better get rid of it quickly, and that's the game plan. When the Steelers went to Houston and they lost, and C.J. Stroud, he was getting rid of the ball pretty quickly. They had no shot to get to him. San Francisco can do the same thing. Those teams can do that and kind of make the outside edge rushers not noticeable. And those are the things you have to watch. If you're another team, I would suspect I'd try to do that no matter what they're putting out there.
There's no question about it. And that's how you get after the Steelers defense, is limit the impact that T.J. Watt can have on your team, on your offense. And you widen them out with a tight end or a running back, and then you double hit them with that tight end, running back, and the tackle. But when you don't communicate and he gets a free get off to the quarterback, that is a disastrous play for your offense.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if I was surprised, they late in the game they threw a screen pass to Joe Mixon. It got 39 yards. It resulted in their final 3 points, which did not matter as it turned out. But why didn't they do that earlier in the game? I did not see one designed screen. I saw a lot of quick throws over the middle because of pressure, but I never saw a designed screenplay. And I would have thought that would have been his best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure why. Again, got to go back and look at the tape. I wish we had film to watch right here. But the reality is the Steelers weren't coming with a lot of blitzes, that didn't seem to me, Bob. It seemed like they felt like they can get after them with a 4-man rush. And so a lot of times you're throwing those screens and those kind of dumps when you want to take advantage of that aggression and those blitzes. They caught him on that last 39-yard pass, a little screenplay they threw to Mixon. But what I want to see is this team to continue to get after the quarterback with a 4-man rush and allow them to play with 7 guys in the back end and get better coverage.
All right, one of the things the Steelers certainly have to do is get Minkah Fitzpatrick back. I say this knowing their defense has been pretty good the last couple of weeks. These are big AFC North games against Cleveland and against Cincinnati. But these guys in their places did an enhanced role for Landon Roberts, a role out of nowhere for Michael Walker right there. KZ gets more time because Keanu Neal is out. Trenton Thompson. That's a pretty good indication that guys coming in, playing well enough that you wouldn't necessarily talk about Minkah Fitzpatrick, which I'm surprised. I thought these 2 games here without him could be disastrous defensively, and they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, look who you're playing, though, right? But the reality is that Minkah Fitzpatrick is an all-pro. He's much better than those guys we showed there on the screen. When he comes back, think back to how well he was playing the last couple of games before he pulled his hamstring. And he was playing lights out. He was playing at the line of scrimmage. He was playing deep. He was all over the place. When they get him back, as well as they're playing now, he's going to elevate this defense to a whole nother level, which is going to be exciting to see. And really, you don't want to bring him back too early, Bob. Right now, they're 7-4. They got some games on the schedule, 2-8, or maybe a 2-9 Cardinals team, a 2-9 Patriots team. Don't bring him back too early so then he re-aggravates that hamstring. Let him rest so he comes back when they're going to need him in December and January and hopefully into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's true, but at the same time, every now and then a team can surprise you,
Absolutely.
and you take advantage. Kyler Murray's the one quarterback who can light it up when given some time, and we'll see how he does today against the Los Angeles Rams. They were leading at last check 8-7 in that game. So we have come to the point of this program where we say thank you very much for joining us, and also remind you, you can call now 412-575-2600. That's the special Steelers edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We will take those calls all the way up until 6 o'clock and then do it again tonight at 10:35 on KDKA+. A reminder to you, the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown airs tonight after the late news, 11:35 on KDKA. Your calls are next. Thanks for joining us on your neighborhood Ford store. Extra Point, Steelers win 16-10. We talk more about it next, right here.